Christine Anu's path to stardom has not been easy. She grew up in the Torres Strait Islands but had to leave her family to follow her dream of being a singer. She achieved massive success with her rendition of My Island Home. But she's struggled with the fickle ups and downs of the music industry, especially as an Indigenous performer. She felt the pressure of being a single mum with 2 kids and coped with weight fluctuations that were magnified by being in the public eye. Her resilience has meant she's never given up. In the past 5 years, she's married her childhood sweetheart, made peace with her weight, and is about to celebrate 20 years in the industry. Christine, I'm so excited to have a talk to you. I want to start at the very beginning. You were born in Cairns, but you grew up in Torres Strait Island. Is that correct?
Born in Cairns, grew up in Cairns, Townsville, Brisbane, and the Torres Strait. So my grandfather passed away in 1979 actually. My parents packed us all up and moved us up north into Torres Strait. And when I was about 13, started high school. So yeah, right at the beginning, up in the islands, still at that really great young, impressionable age where, you know, you're still learning about language and culture. So, you know, we knew a bit of both, a bit of the Western world, living in the city urban lifestyle, and also living in a very remote part of Australia.
You always knew you wanted to sing though, from a very early age. Do you remember when you had that
absolutely,
first time?
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, going back to the city, the moments when we were living in the city, and every Sunday afternoon the family sat around the television set, the black and white TV, and watched Young Talent Time. And I loved the young 10-year-old Tina Arena. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to sing like Tina Arena. I'd walk out into the garden, our backyard, and I'd treat the trees and the plants and the flowers like they were camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. And I was always this kid in the back of the taxi, always waiting for that, you know, maybe some talent scout will spot me, so I'd always be in that pose, you know, waiting for life to happen. And I pretty much lived my dream like that. I had this dream of like, I'm going to be spotted one day and I'm going to become a star. And that's pretty much how it was. I mean, and you know what enhances that is living so far away, and not having these other influences of like, oh, you're never going to have that happen, and that's never going to happen to you. You have to know Jimmy Barnes, or you have to know famous people, and your parents have to be musicians first for you to get into the pop music, into the music industry. None of that. I didn't have those sort of influences telling me, oh, you can't have this and you can't have that. I just sort of went, you know what, it'll come. I just have to follow my instinct and follow my nose, and I'm sure I'll go in the right direction. And I kind of did that. I didn't know what I was doing, but I kind of did that.
Pretty impressive. You actually did follow your dream. So you, as soon as you were old enough, you moved to the city?
By the time I was in year 7, and all of the school teachers go every now and again throughout the year to the teachers' conferences in Brisbane, and so our white school principal takes over the running of the school with the teachers' aides.
Right.
So Mr. West, Trevor West, he took year 6 and 7, and made us do a creative writing class story about where do you see yourself? Tell me a story about what you're going to be doing in the year 2000.
Which was forever away.
Forever away. Mm. And that's exactly what I thought. I mean, you just think people who turn, you know, who are that old, you know, as old as my parents, they die. You know, people die. It's like, how am I going to live that old for starters? And I had a big problem seeing past my own mortality. I just thought, you know, I can't see it. All I could think of writing was this grave with a cross on it. And anyway, he came over to me and said, Christine, what's wrong? You're having trouble creating. This is not like you. And he said, look, let me give you a bit of a help. So in the year 2000, what are you going to be? 30? And I went, oh, that's really old, sir. And that's my problem. I can't see what I'm going to be doing. He said, well, okay, we'll just say you'll be living in Sydney, the big smoke. And I thought, oh, wow, Sydney. How am I going to get down there for starters? Because I'm not going to go by boat. and he said, just say for a job, just say the Olympics comes to town and you'll be in the Olympics. There, right, start writing. And I pretty much wrote myself into my future in the year 2000. And,
are you serious?
Well, everybody was writing stories about spaceships and, you know, cars and automobiles that do all these fancy things, which they kind of do now, don't they? But my teacher said to me that I was going to be 30 in the year 2000. I was going to be living in Sydney, and I was going to be in the Olympic Games, and it's pretty much what happened to me in my life. And
do you believe in manifesting and creating your future?
He was probably one of those people. Besides the fact that my mother's a very she's a woman of faith, and she's a big believer in that you ask for things and they will manifest. She's somebody who sort of set my path down that spiritual journey for myself. But he kind of helped me go visualization and seeing your future, and you can predetermine how that's going to be. You don't know how you're going to get from here to there. You just know where you're going in your life, and somehow those things will align. And I've always had moments where I thought, things happen around me. I think, I'm in the right. I'm supposed to be here. And they don't all necessarily mean good things either. You just know, okay, I know that this is happening for me right now because I've got to get from here to here. And if I didn't know it then I've looked back on my life and I've gone, okay, I understand now why that was that way.
So you visualised yourself to Sydney. What happened when you actually got there?
I got sent off to boarding school in Rockhampton with my sister. Finished high school. Went down to Sydney. 2 weeks later, I started in NAISDA, which is a performing arts school for for adults basically. It was like a college, like uni, and this is what my careers officer had put me in touch with. And because he asked me, what would your dream be? And I said, I would like to perform, anything, just a performance. Being brought up with my cultural dances and songs, and I just felt that that's where my headspace was in bringing my culture to the world. When I was probably completing my 3rd year, that was the beginning of the Bangarra Dance Company. So now we had a feeder. Yeah. Now Bangarra had a feeder school of dancers. We could go somewhere. There was definite work if Bangarra would take on dancers. So that was a great bonus. And one of the showcases I think it was my 5th year, a gentleman called Neil Murray came along to see the show. And I had no idea who Neil Murray was. It's just that there was a lot of rumble about, this guy's here to see. He's from that band, the Warumpi Band. And, slowly by the end of the 2-week period of the workshop, I started to realise who this guy was.
It's kind of a big deal.
This is a big deal. Anyway, this so-called big deal that I knew nothing about sent a little note with his friend who was in my year, and it said, "We love your voice, would really love you to try out doing backing vocals in my band." And
backing vocals was like a step into the industry, so that was a huge deal.
Backing vocals was me making the big time. He said to me, "But I can only pay you $50." I was like, $50, wow! Oh, well, I was on Austudy, Ab Study, which is the Austudy equivalent, and that sort of came to me that way, and that's when that was one of those moments where I knew maybe this is it. I'm on the right path. I've met Neil for a reason, and everything does happen for a reason because he gave me my first baby, My Island Home. The way that we did it.
Did you know that song was going to change your life?
No idea.
Really?
Absolutely no idea. So along comes the gig when Neil says, "I think it's about time that you got up and sang My Island Home." And I said, "What? People are here to see you. I can't do that." Knowing how much the community just loves their song. He said, no, people we need the chick to break up the monotony of me being up the front. So I think you should come up and start singing the song. Oh my God, the first time I had to sing that song, I was so nervous. I said to him before I started singing, I said, "I'll just do the second verse, and then after that you just do the rest because I'm too nervous." And he was like, no. But he encouraged me.
You.
And eventually...
And you've got that support. You can try, you can aim higher because someone's going to catch you.
He was my nurturer. He was
great.
The person who really mentored and nurtured me early on in the game. There were people coming to see Neil Murray who heard about me.
Yeah.
I was graduating, came to see the dance pieces that I was doing, and I will tell you that's how I got the record deal.
Wow.
But I wasn't singing any songs. I wasn't developing myself as a songwriter. What do we do? So Neil said, "We'll put Island Home down with the band, and that can be your demo tape, and you can hand it into the record company." So it sort of became my song by default, and they loved it. The record company loved it. I signed with Mushroom Records, with White Label, and it
And
became
next
the
thing
cornerstone.
you know, you're winning ARIAs, Deadly Awards. It's like massive change.
It was happening very quickly. I
Amazingly.
Yes, I mean, you don't, when those opportunities come, you don't say, hang on, let's just see what else I've got on.
Now, it was around that time that you had your first child as well, isn't it?
When they come, they've come to you for a reason at that time. And I could afford to.
Yeah, that's great.
If I decided, which I did, decided to leave an abusive relationship. And I didn't want my little baby to be in an environment that he thought, well, that they would think, is this what it's like to be in a loving relationship? I knew that I had to get out before those years came.
You're quite blessed in that you've had that incredible support from a young age of people around you, especially leaving an abusive relationship. Like, that's a tough thing to do at any age. Would things be different now?
Yeah, I mean, the support network was definitely there when I was younger. I had a management team that was there to help the career, which was pretty much, it was rolling and there was no stopping. I did have time to have baby, and yes, it was an abusive relationship that I think having the baby helped me to get out of.
Because you wanted to protect the baby more than protect you?
Yeah, maybe that was what it was all about. That was the strength, having a baby and bringing a child into the world, and wanting that child to be a responsible adult meant that I needed to put all of these great people around my child if I was going to be the single mother that I was obviously choosing to be. And with the financial, situation there as well, it was the right time to go ahead with that.
Now, My Island Home seems to resonate with everyone. Like, I'm a white girl from Kingaroy in country Queensland, and it makes
wrong with
me
that.
cry. Everyone seems to have a different trigger point in it. Have you found that people from around the world all identify to this song?
Absolutely, from the get-go. I've gone overseas, sung the newer version of My Island Home, rewritten for the 2000 Olympics. And the verse that was rewritten for it goes, my home is Australia.
Can you sing it?
My home is Australia. We are a land bound by sea. And though I may travel far across the oceans, it will never forget me. My island home. My island home, my island home is waiting for me.
I'm tearing up.
So I sang that particular version after I'd just been on stage with Olivia Newton-John, and I have the backing of the Australian Girls Choir, and I get to this verse, and I need to tell you that by this time, I'm completely over singing My Island Home, because I'm thinking, this has got to be the only song that people in the world know that I sing. There's more to me than just this song. So I've gone to, this song has been so amazing for me to it's becoming a bit like this, my life on repetition and Groundhog Day, to being a room full of expats as well as invited Americans as well. Famous people on the red carpet where I've just gone, gah, oh my God, am I really here? Pinch myself. And singing that verse, we are a land bound by sea, and the entire room lifting in this audible, wah, and my hair's just jumping off my skin, going, yep, I'm over myself now.
Yeah.
This song's more than just me.
Bigger
than me.
Yeah.
Bigger than me. It's not what it means for me, it's the connection. It's the sense of belongingness. I completely understand how connected we all are, and how that song makes us all feel connected, regardless of race and religion and colour and all of that aside, we're all connected.
Do you sometimes feel like it has been something that's helped with race relations in Australia, or have you, faced racism issues yourself, considering people identify with it but may not identify with the Aboriginal side of it?
I don't ever proclaim to be the saviour of having the answer to how we can all get over this racist, undercurrent that lies in these generations from past to now. We're getting better. That's all I can say.
Do you think about racism now and how to protect your children from it?
I have a son to a Torres Strait Islander man. He's darker complexion than me. And my daughter to an Australian, to an Aussie. And she's lighter than us, I look like I'm the nanny walking down the street with these two young people. And they're like looking at me, looking at him and looking at her going, how does this all work? But my children aren't anybody. They're going to be making their names for themselves and they're going to be their own people in this world. And there is that confrontation. Like my daughter is completely across it. She says, "It's in here, Mum. I'm black in here." And my son's he's oblivious to it, and he knows that it's nothing that he needs to take on. But I've taught them, if anything, how to stick up for themselves in situations.
You've given them resilience.
I've given them resilience, absolutely. Just like I've had to have the resilience myself, and it's been hard seeing my family go through it, immediate family go through stuff like the way that my parents would get spoken to, because English isn't their first language. That people would think they'd have to talk louder to them because they don't understand. And hearing my mum going, "I'm standing right here. You don't have to talk to me like that." Just knowing how black people get treated. I've been there. I've lived that life. I've seen it myself firsthand. And my son, they're both great kids who will pass on the legacy.
You've been quite vocal about your battle with your weight. When you were a dancer, you had to be so small when you were performing, and you seem to have made peace with it now. Was it really hard battling your weight when you're in the public eye?
The big question is, did I need to have to be any of those things?
No.
Who said that I had to be all of these things? Who says that women have to be?
Or did someone else say it?
Well, but I look back on my life and I think of all those years where I just hated my body and I hated the look. My thighs were this, or this wasn't that enough, and my calves aren't this enough, and I wish my point was better. Wishing for yourself to be, I don't know what, a mould or someone, and no one's ever telling you to try your best to be you.
To be you, yeah.
You spend your life being like that ballerina or this person. No one's ever telling you what is the best quality about yourself and who is that person that's going to come out one day and when are you going to be her. So I decided to take a vacation from myself.
Take a vacation from myself. That's a beautiful phrase.
Just get off yourself. Get off your case.
Yeah.
Get off your case. We're our own worst critics. We hear that our whole lives, but you don't really know that. I would never speak to myself, to speak to other people the way that I speak to myself. Oh my God. I listen to myself sometimes, and I think we need to take the opportunity to listen to that voice that criticizes, that puts you down. Why did you do that? Scrutinize. I decided, no, I want a holiday from you, Christine. You're a hard case. And that's when I got to this whole, you know what, when I come back, it's going to be on my terms.
I like it. My brother once sent me a sign to put up in the bathroom near the scales that said, "Don't weigh your self-esteem."
Yeah.
And I thought that's so true, because if you get on and it's heavy, you feel bad. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
But those numbers.
I have this little girl, and everything that I feel and do about my body, she's going to copy that when she is not with me. The things that the way her inner conversation, will she adopt the way that I talk about myself? And that made me very, very conscious about how I would perceive my weight in a public way. Should my journey be something that I share, is what I started asking myself.
So now you're about to celebrate 20 years of Styling Up.
Yes.
Tell me what you're doing.
Where'd the bloody time go? I want to know. I'm still waiting. I've had 20 years, but what have I learned? Have I learned anything at all? I am forever grateful when I look back for that one song, for all of the wonderful things that have come into my life, including my husband, who's watched my career blossom from afar, and now he's very much a part of it, in the support network that he gives me and my children. I think that the next big thing for me is still waiting around the corner.
Wow.
Well, I believe that my music still has to touch so many lives, and that's what I want to be doing for the next, not just 20 years, but next 40, 60 years, if I live that long, please.
Okay, so if the school guidance counsellor got you to write that letter, what's it going to be for your next big goal?
Well, my darling, I have to find him wherever he is on this planet so he can help me rewrite that one. You know, I think it will be to be just chugging away and at music. I don't have great big plans except to be continuing doing my music. And I'm just grateful that I've had 20 years of a career that I thought was only going to last one.
Amazing.
And here I am celebrating 20 years, and look, I'm just going to chug away finding you know, endless talent that I just keep discovering every year about myself, and sharing that and seeing if I can, you know, inspire young women out there and help women to aspire to maybe be the women that we are.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I love your resilience. I love that you've risen like a phoenix, and it's just getting better and better. And I feel completely privileged that I got to sit here while you sang a bit about my own.
Thank you. That was without a warm up as well.